Hello and welcome to What the Faux Travel Podcast with Nick and Amy. This is a mini episode about island hopping around the San Blas Islands with San Blas Adventures.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us for this special tropical Caribbean episode of What the Faux Travel Podcast, and we're going to be talking about one of the most favourite parts of our whole trip. 4 days cruising around. Maybe I shouldn't say cruising because it wasn't a cruise ship, but you know what I mean. We were sailing around island to island around the Caribbean.
I mean, we weren't actually strictly sailing either, Nick.
Here we go. It wasn't a sailboat. Right. We were speedboating around Caribbean paradise. In
this San Blas Adventure episode, we will be talking about the autonomous Kuna people, who are the indigenous people. We'll be telling you about all the different islands that we visited, how we played volleyball with the Kunas, we met the Kuna children, how we had our drinking nights out, a birthday party on the last evening, and we introduce you to all the people that we met, including our guide Alejandro, aka Russell Brand. So that's all coming up on this episode of the San Blas Islands, also known as Kuna.
So San Blas Islands, a lot of people, it's surprising actually because we know them very well. We've heard a lot of friends who've been there before, mainly because we're all interested in the whole travel YouTube scene, and of course we've now been there, but I would say most people don't know what the hell the San Blas Islands are.
No, so they actually are owned by Panama. So they're in between Panama and Colombia. And they're a cluster of islands, like an archipelago of islands. I think there's 365 islands to be precise.
Good fact. One island for every day of the year.
Yeah, so, you know, if you've got a gap year, then you can do every single one of them. If the Kuna people, the local people, if they let you do it anyway. So yeah, there's 365. They're in between Panama and Colombia. And it's just a brilliant way to get from South America to Central or vice versa.
Exactly, because there's no way on land, or there's no roads basically between Panama and Colombia. So your options are you can fly, which is quite expensive, or you can get a boat direct, or you can do this, which is way more fun. 4 days, you see paradise, and you get from Central to South America, or like Amy said, the other way around. And actually, the price it is to do this 4-day trip can be similar to a flight, can't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, don't do the boring thing, and actually the less eco way of traveling, I guess.
Yes.
You can go by boat and see all these wonderful islands, learn about the Kuna people. You can get drunk with a bunch of new friends. It's an awesome trip and we can't wait to tell you about it.
But why are there no roads? Why can't you get from Panama to Colombia, Amy?
Well, Nick, it's a thing called the Darien Gap. Now, if you know what this is, you'll know that it's actually a very dangerous part of the world. There's a lot of trafficking of people, trafficking of drugs. It's kind of the gateway between South and Central America. So, you know, there's a lot of transportation of drugs, basically. So you definitely do not want to be going in there. And plus, it's a massive jungle, isn't it?
Exactly. It's some of the thickest jungle on the planet. So even if it was safe to go through, you know, even if there weren't gangs operating in the area, drug traffickers, it would still be one of the most difficult things you've ever done because you'd have to trek through thick jungle. So I think we can safely say going via the San Blas Islands is the safest and most fun way.
And I also, at this point, just want to make it super clear that as you're boating around, you can see the Darien Gap, you can see the jungle, but you are completely safe doing this tour. Like, there's no issue of safety. So
yeah, you're
don't
away
worry
from
about
it
that.
all. Plus, there's quite strict border patrol, you know, the people that work for the government for both Colombia and Panama. So part of what we have to do, we had to go through the border. But yeah, this is just a much more easy, hassle-free way to get from one part of the world to the other.
Now, we're going to be explaining the trip going from Colombia to Panama, but just be aware, if you want to do it Panama to Colombia, then you'll just be doing everything that we're doing in reverse. I do believe that you do go to some different islands, but you know, your experience is going to be the same. You're going to be in Paradise Islands, so don't you worry about that.
So where we started was in Cartagena in Colombia, and I think this is the most popular route that people will be doing if they're doing the same trip as we did with San Blas Adventures. But you can also start in Medellin in Colombia if you want to. Now, San Blas Adventures, they give you all the instructions you need to do, but we're just going to tell you roughly what we did. So if you're planning on doing a similar trip, you know what's in store.
Yeah, so just to make it clear, the trip is actually 4 days, but you need to allow 6 days, maybe 7 for the entire trip, because it takes a little time to get there. And then once you're at the other end of your trip, you've got a day or so to, kind of calm down and hang out with your new friends.
That's true, yeah. It's like a 2-day trip just for the trip to start, because you start in the most remote paradise. It takes a while to get there. But we got a bus from Cartagena in Colombia to a place called Necoclí?
Necoclí or Necoclí? Necoclí?
Something like that.
We're not completely sure if we're saying that right, but it's spelled Necoli. It's
quite a long bus, maybe 7-8 hours. That's pretty standard in South America. And we stayed one night in this place, okay? And then once we'd made it there to Necoclí, the next morning, we were all with our group. We're doing this journey together. We got a boat to, here's another one I'm going to try to pronounce,
Capurganá, which is spelled Capurgana. So you can check it on a map.
And you can't get cars here, there's no road, so it's just to get there by boat. It's quite a special place. And once we arrived here, we're thinking we feel like we're in the Caribbean now.
But it was beautiful, wasn't it?
It was a really cool, unique place. But you have a little group meeting in Capurganá where you properly meet your guide for the first time. And then you have to get one more boat to an even more special, beautiful place called Sapsuro. I think I've got that one right.
Yeah, you have, but let's spell it anyway. It's Sapzuro. I feel like I'm on Countdown or something, like some vocabulary game.
Yeah, how many letters? 8 letters, Carol. It's not Carol anymore, is it? That was years ago.
No, what's her name? I don't know. But everybody loves her.
I don't know. You're not a fan, are you?
No, I don't like her. I don't like her attitude, if I'm honest. Anyway, that's enough with UK TV.
So once you've done this 2-day journey...
Rachel Riley.
Oh, well done.
There you go.
And Amy didn't even Google that. So once you've done this 2-day journey, like I said before, we're proper in the Caribbean. We're still in Colombia, but you're in this remote place. And in Sapsuro particularly, you're in this bay and we're swimming and the beach is beautiful. And I was thinking I could just stay here for a week, even before the trip had begun. We're in a really cool, beautiful place.
Yeah, and actually, just at this point, I just want to mention that, of course, I made a film of this, so that will be online shortly, around the time that we are releasing this podcast. So if you head to our YouTube channel, What the Faux Travel Productions, you'll be able to find it there. It's about 40 minutes long, and you can see how beautiful this place is. We've got some drone footage in there, a lot of the private jokes with the group. And actually, at this point, I just want to say this was one of our this was the best travel group we've ever had.
Oh, the group of people. You're going to hear a lot of them during this episode. What a fun group. Yeah, it really made the trip extra special.
Yeah, and I think it's because there was such a range of people. You had party people you could have a deep travel conversation with, and then people that you just click with.
Yeah, couples, single people. Yeah, it was a real mix, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So the time has come for the trip to start. Like I said, 2 days to get there, and then on the third morning, if you like, that's when the trip really begins. You get the boat from Sapsuro in Colombia, and then once we're through the border, we're in Panama, and that's where the fun begins. But first of all, we're going to meet someone.
Yes, our absolute dude of a tour guide, aka Russell Brand.
Spitting image.
I've never met someone who looks so much like a celebrity before. Sometimes, if you've seen the film Forgetting Sarah Marshall, you would have seen Russell Brand in the sea. He's got long hair, flicking it around. And there were times in the trip where I saw our tour guide, Alejandro. He was in the water, and I was like, it's Russell Brand. He's actually in the San Blas Islands with us.
Again, and you have to see the video to believe it. But let's get chatting to Russell, or Alejandro. It's the first day of the trip, so we wanted to ask Alejandro, what are we doing today?
Oh man, today we already passed the more less fun part of the trip, which is doing the bordering crossing, all the paperwork and everything. And as soon as the guys finish with the boat report, we're gonna head to our first beautiful island. It's called Atidu, and it's really close to a community which will be our night island. So today is more or less like a cultural day. We're gonna have a few surprises, and we'll be expecting that the boat ride there will be 2 hours. We have a rough sea today, as you can see.
Okay, so this is the only part of the trip where we have to do a long journey on the ocean?
Actually, no. In average, the boat rides will take between 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, and our longest boat ride can be up to 3 hours. It will be, I think, our second day.
Okay, so over the next 4 days, what can we look forward to? What things will we be doing?
A lot of island fun. Basically, You know that we rely 100% in weather. So if it is raining, then we will have an activity for when it is raining. If it is sunny, we'll have something. But basically, it's volleyball. We can do a lot of snorkeling. I have a couple of aces under my hands, so some couple of surprises, activities that I like. And basically, I also like to propose some activities with the group because it's really good to generate a dynamic from the beginning, like learning their names or just like making them something fun in the islands is really good.
Okay, sounds good. Last question from me. Have you forgotten about Sarah Marshall?
How? What?
Have you forgotten about Sarah Marshall? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I don't.
Has anyone?
I don't have the context.
Has anyone from England ever told you you look like someone?
We look like Russell Brand. They have to admit.
Yes. What do you
I'm
think?
the Colombian Russell Brand.
Do you agree?
Actually, like when they told me the first time, I didn't have the reference, but I knew the guy, so I just a matter of me looking at the guy, and then I realized. And honestly, I think we have some kind of resemble, you know. So I won't deny it.
Your brothers.
Yeah.
Can you just say one thing? Can you say, "Hello, mate. I'm from London." Hello. So not
hello.
So not hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, mate. I'm from London.
And why for any?
Because that's what Russell Brand says.
Oh, okay. Hello, mate. I'm from London.
Russell Brand.
A good impression?
Oh, yes, Alejandro. I think it's safe to say that was a very good impression.
Very good. Seriously, guys, you have to see the video. It is Russell Brand. It's crazy.
Like Alejandro said, we were on our way to our first island, and this is where we got our welcome coconuts, wasn't it?
Coco Loco. So, yeah, which is really nice of the trip. They organised, we all had a coconut each for free. Normally on the islands, there's local people, like the Kuna people, who we'll introduce you to later. They're selling refreshments, which you can buy. But we had a free coconut to drink each. And, of course, everyone was packing bottles of rum. So what you do, you turn those coconuts into Coco Locos, add a bit of rum in, and the day's off to a good start.
So right here in this hut, the Kunas will be selling beers, coconuts, and sodas. In terms of food, we're going really local today. Lunch, that will be ready more or less in 20 minutes. And we're having dinner at a local restaurant in the community that we just passed right there. It's called Caledonia. And guys, for you to know, we're not having more motorized boat ride for today. So you just can chill, okay? Places for snorkeling. We're gonna provide you a snorkel gear. Remember that the only condition is that you take care of it, okay? So we give it to you right now and you keep it with you until the end of the trip, and then the last day we're gonna collect it back, okay? So a really good place for snorkeling is going around this island, and in the other side, if you see a wooden stick in the water, around there it's nice. Then you can cross to this island and start going to the shore, like really close to the shore of this island. And right there is a nice coral reef, okay? Guys, we have hammocks in there. I'm gonna provide you a volleyball, I'm gonna provide you a football. Again, the only rule, let's take care of it, it's just for our fun. And guys, right here, right now, I have a couple of rules. So first, guys, it's forbidden to feel stress, okay? If you're feeling stressed, it's got to be happening something, okay? So just let me know and we will sort it out. Second, keep the good vibes. It's really easy in here. Remember that we're in Kunajala. Look around, this is an amazing place, so let's make it worth it, guys. And third is respect, okay? Really important, guys. First of all, respect for yourselves. Respect for all the people that is in this trip, respect for the crew. And I think as long as we're like that, everything is fine, okay? So all good? Everyone agrees with the rules?
Yeah.
Okay, come on, let's make a big circle. Let's gather some energy in here. Group energy, come on, come on.
And it was really good because the start of the day, yeah, we got all that kind of boring stuff out the way, and then we got on the boat, and as we arrived, everyone was just like, wow, like this place is insane. And actually thinking back, it was a beautiful island, but it was nowhere near the best, was it? It just, every time we arrived to a new island, people were like, whoa, like this is insane.
It just didn't look real. It looked like a movie set.
Yeah, look, photoshopped.
Yeah, it was incredible. Well, it looked like a movie set, or it looked like it had been artificially made because it was perfect. You know, you got the beach area, you got some area with trees where you can relax, hammocks were put up, and the area you swim in, like the water was just perfectly calm and perfectly clear. The temperature was, again, perfect. It was like it had been made for, you know, the ideal conditions for humans just to enjoy themselves.
I think if a child drew a Caribbean island, this is what they would draw. You know, the white sand, the palm trees, the hammocks and the coconuts and the water. It was just like that. So you can imagine what it looked like.
Unbelievable. We spent most of the day there just relaxing, playing volleyball. We had lunch, chicken. Like, again, the food here, we're in paradise in a remote place, but the food that was provided for us was top notch. I have said that before, but not often. Top notch food. Chicken wrapped in banana leaves. And what did you have to do to earn your food?
Alejandro made us dance. So this was a bit awkward because, you know, if you don't know the group that well already, which, you know, is the first official day of the trip, you don't. So you could see who were the outgoing characters and who were a bit more shy, aka me. I didn't really want to dance. I just kind of went over to the Brazilian couple and I was like, let's do samba together. So I'm not doing it on my own.
Safety in numbers. This one guy who you'll hear from later, JD.
Yeah, JD is an absolute legend.
He is, but absolute animal. He didn't even know what we were doing. He didn't even realise you had to dance for your food, but he came over and danced straight away happily. But yeah, straight away we're thinking this is a really nice group. Like, everyone's just here to have a good time, relax, party, and a perfect lunch together. Like, really nice in this just amazing setting.
A few things to mention about food is if you're vegetarian, don't worry. There's always vegetarian options, or if you don't like meat, if you don't like fish, you know, they'll always accommodate everyone. And also food and accommodation, they're all included in the one price that you pay. So the only thing that's not included is extra alcohol if you want to buy that from the local Kuna people, because San Blas Adventures have done really well to work with the local people here. And you'll hear that later on because we meet some of the tribal people or the indigenous people. We're always with them. They're the ones that are driving us around the waters in the boats. And yeah, they work directly with San Blas Adventures. So everything's included, but you can also buy extra alcohol on the islands if you've run out. If you're a bit crazy and you've already drunk all of yours.
Which, yeah, happened often. You stock up and you think this will be enough, and 2 days later, you're out. But playing volleyball was fun. I thought I was better at volleyball than I thought I would be. But
I think you were moaning about how much your hand and wrist hurt after.
It does hurt. It's an aggressive game. 2 people, again, you'll hear from them later on the trip that we met, Nat and Sam, who are both from England. They're from Warrington, I believe. Sam didn't really get the idea of volleyball. He just thought it was all about power, and he just kept punching the ball like this amazing, like, Hulk-like punch. But then the ball would just, like, fly off miles into the ocean. We're like, oh, good one, Sam. Game over.
Thanks for that, mate.
Yeah, but no, a really, really great first day. And then what we did was we were told to row traditional canoes, you know, made by the Kuna people. It's just like a hollowed out tree branch, basically. Really hard to balance, really hard to steer. And we like to row canoes just to a nearby island where the proper town, like little houses are made out of wood by the Kuna people. And that's where we slept for the night.
Yeah, and that was really difficult. So it was a bit of a race, actually. I think, how far do you reckon we had to row? About 500 metres?
Something like that. Yeah, 500 metres, like a quarter of a mile. It wasn't far, but it was a fair distance. And
I was just a little bit sad about this because I couldn't catch it on camera, because Alejandro very safely said, you don't want to take any valuables because you're likely to fall in. They were so thin. I think it was the hardest thing I've ever had to balance on. And then, like, you have one person in the front, which I think was me, and you're sitting on the floor. It's all a bit wet and uncomfortable, but it was really fun. And guess who was last? Guess who came last in the race?
JD and Joey, both of them were probably as bad as each other, to be fair. But they just couldn't get it. They had no idea what they were doing, and everyone else had made it to our accommodation, and we were just watching them and laughing and cheering. And
I think they'd sunk, right?
Oh, they capsized a few times.
Yeah, and the boat was filled with water. And then I think there was one of the local Kuna women who had to go out and save them, right?
I think you're right, yeah.
She was like 60 years old, this woman on her own, and she was like, here you go, boys, I'll help you.
And then, you know, once we'd all made it and Joey and JD eventually made it, we all just jumped in the water anyway. And, you know, just day one, and we're thinking, this is fantastic. This is exactly what we wanted from the San Blas Islands.
Yeah, so that's where we'd arrived to our accommodation, and we were really surprised. So we didn't really know too much about the trip at the start, and I think that's really good with San Blas Adventures because they don't actually let you in on a lot of secrets, even though we're telling you everything right now. So sorry, San Blas Adventures, but, you know, it's good to get people excited at the same time. But we just thought we'd be sleeping in hammocks for 4 days, which would have been fine. But we arrived and we had our own double room.
Amazing. Like a sea view. It's like an overwater bungalow. Most of their villages, they're built on islands, but they're built on stilts because, the sea level goes up and down. So we had an overwater bungalow. Like, it was basic, but still our own room, double bed, sea view. What more could you want?
Yeah.
And that evening, it was just really great. We were all sat around together, having drinks, playing music. And we also visited the Kuna village and we met the local people. And it turned out to be way more of an interesting cultural day than I thought it was going to be.
So once again, we didn't actually know what we had in store for us that night. But Alejandro said, grab your cameras, get some clothes on. And because we're in our bikinis, not that we'll walk around naked.
Put some clothes on, for God's sake.
But then we headed into town, as it were, which was like a 2-minute walk because we're on a small island. And we were greeted by maybe like 60 kids playing in this playground. And they were playing basketball, they were playing catch, chasing each other. It was so good. And there were just all these indigenous kids and then kind of the parents surrounded. But we were led to this little space, and then a lot of the adults came out in traditional dress and they did a performance for us. Now, we've been to places like this before, and I think the tribal experience can be a little bit cliche.
Yeah, fake. Yeah, a bit awkward.
Yeah, a bit awkward, and it's like you can tell that they don't really want to perform, and it's like they've kind of given into Western culture of earning money rather than, planting and growing your own food and living off the land. But this was completely different, and we're really not just saying that. It was fantastic, wasn't it?
I was surprised how much I enjoyed it and how much it affected me, I guess. But yeah, like their culture is still alive and well. The whole point of this trip is to show you their culture, let you be a part of it, learn about it. Yeah, have fun, in paradise and get drunk and whatever, but also learn about the local people, work with them. So yeah, the adults of the community put on a little dance for us and played their traditional music,
which you just heard. And I think that kind of became a personal joke of the whole trip, wasn't it, between the group? And everyone was just like, do, 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 do.
Yeah, trying to reenact it, yeah.
It just stays in your head for weeks.
And I was so surprised at how excited the kids were to see us, because they must see groups of tourists all the time doing this trip. But the kids want to come up to us and like say hello, and they talk in their own language and what's them little like slaps games you do with your hands, like high five. You clap with each other in a sequence, and they were singing that song that I think you've been singing ever since the trip. Mari Mari Bo Bo. But they were just really keen to come up to us, have pictures with us. Those of us that have tattoos, they just want to like touch them and see what the hell is that. Really curious, and it was such a nice experience. I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, I actually think that was my favourite night of the whole trip. Actually, I think so. So day one, you're like, wow, what a big, impressive, amazing day. It really was. And then after that, we went for dinner at one of the local restaurants. And again, it doesn't matter what dietary requirements you have, they can cater towards you. And we sat down with one of the Kunas and our guide Alejandro, who's actually from Colombia, by the way. So yeah, he's a local guy local in terms of where the trip started, and he translated from the Kunas. They were talking Spanish to each other, and then he translated to English to let us know what he was saying, and he was telling stories of their culture, and it was really beautiful. Yeah, so that night we learned about Kuna life from Larry. Now, Larry he works for San Blas Adventures. So, they employ local people, San Blas Adventures. And just to make it clear, he is one of the indigenous people, because with that name, you might not think so. His name probably isn't Larry. I don't think it is. That's for our benefit. But when he's not a guide with San Blas Adventures, he is a farmer. So he goes to mainland with 62 years, and he starts working in the crops, collecting coconuts, and by noon, he's over, and the rest of the afternoon he can chill, he can go to his hammock, spend time with his family, and it's great. The Kuna town, Armilla, I visited once, and it's amazing. They have a really good quality of living in there, as you can see that they have it in here. And it's not that this is a community or a society ruled by men. It's not that. The woman is really important in here, but woman is usually delegated to the labors in the house, having everything ready, raising the kids and everything.
So that's more or less like the Kuna living, okay? So he's gonna tell us the story about the Kunas, where they come from and what has happened with them.
Los Kunas anteriormente vivían en las montañas.
So actually the Cunayalas, which are the indigenous that live here in Cunayala, they came from Colombia, from a mountain river. Descendants they have are the Cunatulis, and they come from an area called Caiman. So when the Spanish arrived to America, there is actually one of the first landings that happened in a place called Balboa. You are actually drinking Balboa beer. So this guy was one of the first like Spanish to cross from the Caribbean to the Pacific. And here right here, so with the arrival of the Spanish to this area, the indigenous start being displaced and they start looking for better lands, okay? And that's how they get here to the islands. It happened like more than 500 years ago, more or less. But in the beginning of the last century, a lot of foreigners start coming to the islands, especially Panamanian colonial police. So they started being really rude with the Kunas. They start stealing the coconuts, they start stealing their tortures, and they start forbidding them to have their traditions. So they start forbidding them to speak their language, they forbid the women to wear their traditional dress, and they were basically being super rude with them. They didn't want that anymore. They wanted like control over their land and they wanted to be respect. So they organized themselves and it took more or less a year having meetings, and they wanted to kick off the Panamanian colonial police out of the islands. So they are really intelligent, and they chose a specific date. They chose the date of the celebration of the carnival in Panama. So they knew that all the colonial police were going to be partying, getting drunk and everything, and they chose that date to start going island by island, kicking out all the foreigners, and that's how they got their revolution. And that's how they get their rights over this land. So that being said, guys, right now let's open like a moment for questions.
Who runs the island, or who's the boss, or is there like a mayor, or is there a president?
Hay tres caciques.
For the big Cunayala, like the comarca of Cunayala, they have like three big bosses. They are called the three caciques. So they are like the big chiefs of all the indigenous community. But in every island there is a person called a saila. And the saila is elected by the people. And it has to be a person that is a leader in the community. They have to be up of 40 years old. They have to know about Kuna medicine. They have to know about culture, and they have to know about botanic. So if a community is having a problem, then they will go to the saila. And the saila is a wise person that advises, that take decisions, but always here in the community. The saila is a person that swings on a hammock in the middle of the hut, and he will start singing, and he will start chanting like, I don't know, a tale or something, and that's how they pass their oral tradition. Number two, yep.
Is it normal to have like one wife or one husband, and what's a normal age to get married?
Anteriormente la cultura.
So traditionally it used to be an arranged marriage. And what used to happen is that like usually the father of a son will get his son a person to get married, a woman. There is monogamous relationship. They don't have like several wives and everything. But right now it's open. It's not an arranged marriage. So they, in average, they can start getting married from 16. They can get marriage between a person from one island and another, and even a foreigner. They have to pay like some kind of tax to the community. But it's still like the only condition they have for arranging marriage from different communities or even from a different country is that they have the approbation of the saila. Guys, number three.
If somebody commits like a really serious offence, like murder or a sexual assault, is it dealt with by the Kuna people, or do they at some point have to hand it over to the authorities?
Like small things, they will deal it as a community. Big things like raping, murdering, or like drugs and stuff like that, then they will involve the Panamanian authorities. Number four.
How do they feel connected to Panama and the Panamanian people and to the rest of the world?
Nosotros somos una isla.
What he's saying is that as a community, they have their own traditions. Remember that they are autonomous. They make part of the Panamanian territory, but they create their own laws. They don't pay taxes just to themselves and stuff like that. I mean, right now they're going through a lot of changes, and they are open to different people as long as they respect their traditions and everything. If they are disrespectful and considering the past they have, you can understand that they wouldn't allow someone that it's like quicking with their traditions or messing up with them. They won't, but they feel really happy, at least with foreigners and everything in general.
Some interesting questions from the group there. I like those.
Good, insightful questions. And I thought that was all really interesting, learning about the Kuna people. And it's nice to hear of like a good news story when it comes to indigenous people and, you know, them being able to rule themselves. It's quite rare that happens around the world, but as indigenous people go, I think the Kuna people, yeah, they're really forward thinking, quite modern in many ways, but also sticking to their traditions, and you're happy to let foreign people in as long as they respect their cultures, and I really like that.
Yeah, I think it's good that they choose how to keep their traditions but bring in like modern technology or kind of modern education. And for example, later we're going to hear from someone called Kaz, who works for San Blas Adventures, and she's going to talk to us about how San Blas Adventures work with the Kuna people in teaching them about plastic and how they shouldn't be, you know, chucking their rubbish into the sea, because I believe, you know, they used to live off the land, so whatever they used to chuck in the water was organic and that was okay. So, you know, if you've never been taught that plastic is bad, which we used to think, you know, it was okay to use.
True.
They then started to chuck it in the ocean. So it's all about teaching them those sorts of things. But we'll hear more about that from Kaz later.
Day 2, our first island we went to was called Hochidup.
Hochidup.
I think that's right.
And that means Island of Pelicans.
Now, again, when we first saw this island, amazing, incredible. Again, watch the video, look at our Instagram because you need to see these pictures. We had a banging salad for lunch, fresh, healthy food.
Do you think that it was a good salad because you made it?
Yes. That is exactly why. No, it was good. It was all the boys that were making lunch while the girls were just, you know, lazing around, just loving life.
Actually, we were doing yoga and swimming in the sea and being active, so
of course,
bore off.
All the lads, we were sat around chopping up this salad while Alejandro was with a big bottle of rum pouring rum into our mouths, which I've got to be honest, makes chopping more fun.
Yeah, it was kind of like your present for helping him cook lunch, really, wasn't it?
That's true. And he randomly put on this Greek dancing music that we all had to dance
to.
That one. And it gets faster and faster and faster. But, you know, just even preparing lunch, great fun when you're in the San Blas Islands.
Yeah. And like I said, while they were doing that, me and some of the girls were doing some yoga. I had a nap. It was great.
In a hammock.
Just living the proper island life.
Later on, Alejandro got out this tightrope, you know, tied it between two trees. And because he's a freak of nature, he's just good at everything. He was showing us how it's done on the tightrope. One of the Kuna guys was joining in. Obviously, we tried. We weren't very good. I remember though Sam was pretty good. We spoke about Sam and Natalie earlier. Sam was pretty good at that, actually. Rubbish at volleyball. Good at the tightrope.
Once we started talking about this island, actually, I was a bit confused. I was like, which island was this? Because you hit about 2 islands a day. So in the whole thing, you do about 7 or 8 islands. So it gets a bit confusing. You're like, oh, which one was that again? Mm-hmm. But, you know, they all roll into one because they're all fantastic.
It doesn't matter which one it is. Yeah, they're all brilliant.
But yeah, no, that was a good one. And then that day, or that evening, we went to our night island, which was Tupele.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think that's how you say it.
And that was more of, well, again, it was like a town. It was an island, but Kuna town. And we were staying almost like in someone's B&B. It wasn't really a B&B, hammock. What's it? Hammock and breakfast.
I've actually kind of lost which one it is. Is this the one where we shared the room with Nat and Sam?
Yes.
Right, okay.
We crashed their
I'm
room
with you.
because they had an extra bed in there. But that was a night we were all sat around this long table, drinking and playing games, had dinner. Just had a great laugh, to be honest. Really, really good.
Yeah, and I can't stress enough how well the group got on so well. Like, I felt like by this point we'd known them for at least 2 weeks and it had been 2 days.
Fantastic group of people from all over the world. A lot of English, I must say, so I apologise to the rest of the group, but I feel like we all got on really well.
But actually, because there were so many English people, on the first night, after we'd spoke to the Kuna people, we went back for a couple of drinks. And we ended up playing like English garage music, which was quite fun.
21 seconds to go.
I got 21 seconds to go.
The others loved it. Actually, it was quite funny. The Brazilian couple, Marcelo and Claudia, It was funny. She was telling me how before this trip she was practicing her Spanish. All she did was for 4 days speak in English. We're sorry.
Sorry you didn't get the cultural experience that you wanted. Us English people had taken over the world.
Yeah, but Amy's got an interesting point to talk about now. Toilets, sleeping and shower situation.
Oh, yeah. See, because I think there are quite a few people out there that would be like, oh, I don't know. You know, are there going to be toilets? I'm not sure if I want to go. You need to go. It's absolutely fine. I mean, if you've listened to the podcast before, you'll know that I'm a bit of an OCD freak. I don't like germs and I don't like dirty places, which can sometimes be difficult when you travel. But with this, you have absolutely no problem. You always have a toilet. You know, it's a built toilet where it's kind of built out of wood and it's all natural. So particularly the first island I remember, there are a lot of crabs in the toilet.
The crabs eat your poo.
You know, keeping the world going round in a cycle. But it was an experience and it was fine. You know, you're in there for a couple of minutes and you're gone. But, you know, always places to shower, whether it's going to be cold water, but that's nice because it's really hot and you want a refreshing shower. Sometimes it's a bucket shower, which we'd never done before.
Yeah, explain the bucket shower.
So it's not a bucket. What is it?
Just a big tub
of
water. Yeah,
I'd call it a barrel.
But you have a little bucket to throw water over yourself.
Yeah, and actually, again, I'm not just saying this because we're working with San Blas Adventures. I loved it. By the time we got back to Panama, I was like, what's this boring shower? I want a bucket shower. It was so refreshing.
It was completely fine. And I've said before with the accommodation, yes, sometimes, well, pretty much all time, it was pretty basic, you know, bucket shower, toilets are pretty basic, but weirdly, in a nice way.
Yeah, it was. You weren't struggling. It wasn't like, oh, this is a lot of effort. It was just really nice. And a bit like on those TV shows, we had one in England where it was called Shipwrecked. And, you know, it was more than that, wasn't it? Because they literally sleep on the floor.
I don't remember.
On the sand.
I know of the programme, but I don't remember watching it.
Well, if you do remember it, I just felt like I was living out my shipwrecked dreams.
When I was a kid, you wanted to go on that show, didn't you?
I really did, but I wasn't old enough. And I was like, I want to travel the world, but the law won't let me.
Now you've done it.
And yeah, so 2 out of the 4 nights we slept in beds, right? And then the other 2 we slept in hammocks.
Yeah.
And then the last night when we were sleeping in hammocks, we didn't get to bed till like 4 because we had our party and, you know, you're drunk. You don't care where you're sleeping.
That's true. Plus, I love a hammock. I would admit after a while, with my feet being like above head height, all the blood drains from my feet, so I have to get them out a bit. But hammocks are fine. Love a hammock. So and you're all in it together. It's kind of you're all in this big room together, all in hammocks. It's good fun.
Now let's move on to day 3. In the morning, I woke up about 6 a.m. unintentionally, but it was one of those mornings where you're like, this place is awesome. I'm awake by myself. So I got up and I walked along the dock of the bay. That song always comes out in my head when I say the word dock. Anyway, and I was there and I sat down and I was meditating with my Headspace app and it was just brilliant. And at that point I thought this trip is so good because not only do you get the party side and the group side, but you also get a little bit of time to yourself and Paradise Islands. You get to meet the local people, the indigenous people, you get the culture. It has a little bit of everything. So if you're a person that thinks this sounds good, but I'm not much of a drinker, neither am I actually. And so you can have a little bit of a drink and get tipsy or nothing at all, but I think it still works in the group.
Completely agree. Something for everyone. And it just, whatever you're doing, doesn't really matter. You're in paradise. Like, I can't stress enough. It's what you think Caribbean islands are going to look like. Which brings us to the first island of this day. Super, super tiny island. My favourite, no doubt. When the boat's pulling up, like, we're shocked just how perfect and beautiful it looks, but how small it is. You could walk around 30 seconds, a minute. You'd walk around crystal clear water, hammocks in the trees. You got the local Kuna people there selling refreshments. Again, lunch is provided. I'm loving it.
Yeah, when we pulled up on the boat, I remember Alejandro, the guide, saying, you know, guys, be careful, don't get lost, because I know this island's massive.
Bants, mate. He's got all the jokes.
But yeah, this place was good it's the best island for snorkeling, as I remember. There's a lot of kind of coral reef around the island, so you can only kind of go in and out of one space. And me and Natalie and Sam got a bit stuck because we wanted to come back in a bit earlier than everyone else. And so we didn't really no. And then we came through on the coral and it was all a bit sharp. And obviously you're not meant to touch coral. So we backed our way out of there and went all around. I think all while a lot of the boys were shouting, shark, shark, you know, classic joke. Good one.
But I wasn't snorkeling. I'm a bit of a girl when it comes to snorkeling. That's sexist of me, not a girl. What I should say, I'm just a bit scared of snorkeling. It's weird. I don't really like the sea in general. If I can't see what's below me, I prefer that. So instead of snorkeling, I was in a hammock drinking a cerveza. So I think I was having a much better time than you guys.
Well, because I actually got stung by a jellyfish.
Oh, jellyfish sting. Oh,
which is kind of one of my worst fears, I think. I hate jellyfish, but they were tiny ones. So they didn't hurt that bad. It wasn't like a massive tentacle sting on me. It was just a little one. But
you didn't let me piss on you?
Well, no, funnily enough, I didn't actually, Nick.
Out of order, trying to help.
That is only for the bedroom.
Very true. But later that day, Joey, who was on the tour, he got his drone up, legend, which we've used in our video, so thank you, Joey. And we had a great photo shoot, all on each other's shoulders. It was a bit of it was a chill day, but it was also a bit of an Instagram day as well.
But it was also kind of a pre-drinking start to the day as well, because it was that evening, right? That was our big party night.
Yes, it was. You're right. Sorry, yeah, because it's day 3, so that means the next day we head back to Panama. So yeah, tonight was the big party.
And the special part of it was one of the guys, Jez, it was his birthday the next day, so it meant it was an extra special party. And it was a bonfire, but yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. So yeah, like you said, it was Instagram day. We were doing lots of photo shoots, and then I remember at one point we were just kind of hanging out in the sea, floating around on our floats. Is that what you call them? Inflatables. The donuts. And we just kind of randomly started playing this game where you throw shells and they try and get them in the cup. And then Alejandro was cooking or doing something. And then he came over, and it was a running joke that Alejandro can just do anything. You know, he's the best at everything. He has one go at it and it's done. And he came over and he was like, hey guys, what are you doing? And then picked up one shell, threw it. And it was like 4 or 5 meters away. And what happened?
Straight in. Nothing but net. Yeah, this guy is just like ridiculous. He's just freakishly good at everything. So,
particularly the tightrope as well.
Yeah.
He was like walking backwards, doing twists.
Up and down, spinning around. This guy's a joke. He's a freak, I'm telling you.
But to be honest, if this is his job, being on these islands, he's got a lot of time to practice.
Exactly, that's true. All right, so then it's time to move on to our night island.
Our night island was Coco Bandera, which means coconut flag. And yeah, it was our party island.
Party! And on this island, we had the most competitive game of volleyball yet, because I feel like by this point we've got a lot of practice. We're getting quite good. Local Kuna people joined in as well. And again, I can't say it enough. It's just an amazing paradise island. And then Alejandro, he had a little ace up his sleeve.
Hey guys, can I have your attention here for one moment, please? So we'll have a small treat for you guys, but first of all, thanks for everything. Like, honestly, I've been having so much fun, and you all have been great. So guys, thank you so much. Remember that since the beginning, since the first briefing, we said that we have like a lot of reasons for partying and just for being like really cool and smashing it in the islands. And a reminder, tomorrow we're having a birthday. Hey guys, but my invitation is that we're gonna celebrate it like if it was everyone's birthday, okay? We're in Cunayala, and we're here to celebrate life, okay? So let's believe it, and we're gonna smash it today. Remember, guys, just the only rules. Remember, it's just about respect, you know, as well. Like take care of ourselves, but as well, we're gonna have a lot of fun, okay? This has been great, guys. And we have something really cool in here. But before, we would like to play an activity. It's an activity that is 2 teams, and we need to take pictures or videos, and you're gonna have really nice memories, and it's fun. Okay, so I'm gonna explain it. And the ones who want to join at the end of this can tell me, and we will start the activity. The activity will last until we have sunlight. So it's actually gonna be like, I don't know, maybe like 40 minutes or half an hour or whatever, but it will be after this. So the idea is that right here in these 3 papers, at least the things that are left of the papers, we're gonna have some items. The items have say something. I don't know, an example, climbing a tree or whatever. But the idea is that you take either a picture or a video that lasts no more than 5 seconds. Okay, and you're gonna do that. But every item has points. And the idea is that you reach all the points. It just not necessarily means that if you do the item explicit, you're gonna get it. You're a team. and there are no boundaries to creativity, okay? So you can get really creative because this is really fun. Here we have something really cool for you to get started. We have some rum punch. So that's why I want some drink. That's when you go with a cup. It has some watermelon, a little bit of honey, and maracuja, passion fruit. It's really good. You know, just put a little bit of lime and just a bottle of rum. So guys, please enjoy. And because we're celebrating birthdays, guys, please come on and enjoy this cool.
Yeah, so that at the end was Alejandro showing us the 2 cakes that he's got for Jez's birthday, which was so sweet. Little extra touch there.
Gone the extra mile, yeah, and we're in islands, isolated. Where'd you get a birthday cake from? But really made the effort, so that was really nice. And the photo game we played was quite fun. It even got us involved with the local Kuna people who were working on the island, because one of the tasks was to do the traditional dance with them. So we're up dancing with the local people, and it just felt really nice, you know, people from 2 different worlds just coming together and just having a laugh in paradise. So the last night was just party, a bonfire, under the stars, our own private island, life complete. It was really good.
Great. And actually, a common theme throughout the nights when we were drinking were, so the boys that were playing the music, thanks to JD, Jez, Joey and Charlie for all the music, but they'd actually been to Brazil Carnival that year, as did we, and so they were really into some Brazilian music, so every night we were kind of dancing to Brazilian music. And on the last night, again, it came out, and there's this one dance where you have to kind of like drop down low, and I hurt my hip from that because I'm 90 years old apparently.
I think it's still hurting months later, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to stretch it out, but I think I've permanently damaged my hip.
Brazilian music is dangerous, watch out. So I think now we are coming towards the end of the trip. That was our last night. The next day, it's just really getting back to Panama. But that was after we were able to have a lie-in, which is really nice. We had breakfast, relaxed all morning, and had lunch. At that point, we went back to the mainland. But I think it's time to hear what the rest of the group thought of our little trip.
So let's start with the birthday boy Jez from London.
I think they're absolutely stunning. They're exactly what you want out of a Caribbean island. They are pristine sand beaches with perfect palm trees and just surrounded by the cleanest, purest blue sea. It's actually stunning. The group has made it for me, like good group. I'm enjoying it.
I'm Natalie and I'm from Warrington.
What do you think of the San Blas Islands?
They are truly fabulous.
Was it like what you expected? Is this why you came here?
Yeah, and we got like a way better experience than we expected, so it's been a pleasure coming here.
Good group of people?
The best group, probably in the 14 months we've been travelling. It's one of our favourite groups, if not the favourite.
And how have you found like the accommodation and stuff? Because they say it's really basic, but do you think it's basic?
It's basic, but in a good way, where you feel it's more authentic, and the whole vibe is so relaxing and cool that you don't even notice that you sleep in hammocks or like cheaper accommodation, because everything else is so amazing. It really makes you feel like you're having the best experience, so I wouldn't have it any other way.
Carl from the Wirral. And San Blas Islands are tropical paradise. It's really nice to be amongst indigenous tribes that I didn't really have any knowledge of and get to interact with people, and the group's really nice mix of people. Everyone's very fun, open, and it's been sort of very friendly.
Yeah, have you got what you wanted and what you expected from this trip?
Yeah, it's actually maybe exceeded a little bit. It's always difficult when you get such a group of different people together to get everybody to get along, but I think Alejandro and Cheyenne, the guides, do a really good job of making sure people get on together and have nice experiences. So it's not just getting pissed on a beach, it's a lot more than that.
JD from Nottingham.
And what do you think of San Blas Islands?
I think they've been quality, mate. I think the group especially has been 10 out of 10. Obviously the beaches and the scenery is just breathtaking. It's all like the pictures you see on the old Windows screen, you know, on your computer. You look at them and you think, wow, we're actually here.
Yeah, completely agree. And has this trip been what you wanted? Has it been what you expected?
It's been what I expected and a little bit more, to be honest. I think, like I said at the start, the group makes it. If you get a good group and we're all sat having a good laugh, drinking and eating the food that we all make together, it's great, isn't it?
It's great, isn't it? I completely agree. That's the way to sum it up. That would be my review if I wrote one online. It's great, isn't it?
Do Do you know what? One of my favourite moments of the trip actually was when we were interviewing some of the people on camera, and I think you were there, Nick, and you were like, what do you think, JB? And we were like, what the hell? You've been with him for 4 days and his name's JD, not JB.
Pretty close though, isn't it? I am bad with names. I was impressed I got that close.
He was like, it's JD, dude.
But that guy, yeah, JD, who you just heard, animal. And we actually saw him later on in Costa Rica, later on in our trip.
Yeah, we bumped into him at the bus station.
We did. That guy, hilarious. And just following all his Instagram stories now, he's like the travels he's carried on, him and Joey. How are you boys still alive? I don't know. Every day you guys are getting on it. 4 days in San Blas Islands, I understand, but that's a normal day for you guys, getting on it all the time. I don't know how you're alive.
Yeah, those guys are crazy. So once we got back to mainland Panama, we got on some jeeps and we did about, was it a 2-3 hour drive?
I think 3 hours to Panama City.
Yeah, so we got to Panama City. It was really cool as we drove in. I think we said this on our last episode, our main episode of Panama, that once you drive through, you hit Panama City and you're just hit by all these massive skyscrapers. It's a really impressive city. So, you know, the trip takes you there. So then you've got a couple of days to explore there, go to the Panama Canal and everything that we said in our last episode. And while we were there, we went to the Historic Centre and met up with this one.
My name's Kaz, and in San Blas Adventures, I am assistant manager. San Blas Adventures started about 8-9 years ago, and it started with 2 backpackers. One backpacker from New Zealand was traveling Central America and discovered the islands from Panama. And then the other one from Italy was backpacking Colombia and discovered the islands through Colombia. The one from New Zealand was actually trying to do a boat trip from Panama to Colombia. Loved the idea of spreading their love for the Kunas, getting people to know the islands and looking after them. And the guy from Italy wanted to do day trips to the islands. So they were kind of in competition, and then they met and they decided, why be a competition? Let's become equal and help each other. So that's how they started the island hopping from Panama to Colombia and then Colombia to Panama. And then there's a third owner who is actually Kuna. And so basically what had happened was that they decided they wanted to help the Kunas a lot more. They wanted to make sure that they were a lot more community based and helping them. So they got to know the Kunas, and there's a guy that looked after boats and had a lot of people that could help them. So they became a 3. So the Kuna owner hires all the Kunas and looks after the boats, whilst the other 2 have the adventure side and the backpacker side.
So when you said the first 2 were in competition, but they were coming from different sides, so how did they know about each other?
So basically it ended up that they both went to a village, and so they kind of crossed paths in that sense. Got talking to each other about their stories, what they want to achieve, and it was basically the same thing. So they chose, instead of fighting it, let's have a good time. So
that's really cool.
Fantastic. That's a good origin story. I like that.
So when we were on one of the first islands coming from Colombia, we met a bunch of Kuna people and was kind of playing sports with the kids. It was really fun. But Alejandro, our guide, was telling us how part of the money that you pay when you go on the trip goes towards kind of local community projects to do with recycling. So can you explain a bit more about that?
Especially rubbish is a big problem on the islands, from a lot of different things like cruise ships, from just the waves bringing the rubbish in, and also, of course, the Kunas don't know what to do with plastics and everything, because they used to just have natural foods that you can just throw away into the sea. So it's been a big problem, and what we do is we go over to the islands and we educate them. So for one of the villages, we have a recycling system which we've incorporated with the whole of the island, which I'm sure is the one that you were talking about. So we've educated them. If you put the bottles and the cans in one, you can sell it on. The food waste can go in the sea to feed the fishies, and then everything else we will collect from them and take over. So we're slowly doing it for every island. It's becoming a success, but it is very hard. But also we have other projects. So we're trying to work closely with the schools and help them with English and everything like that. These things are very slowly happening, but they are working slowly but surely.
And why would the Kuna people need to speak English?
They found that speaking both Spanish and English that helps them have a successful tourist industry. So down south is where we go, but not many sailboats go. But we can see a difference. When the Kunas speak English, we find that the tourists have a better experience, so they can really understand and they can talk to the Kunas a lot more. So there's that part. A lot of kids will start school in the islands and then come to the city, and if they speak English, that will also help them in other jobs and everything.
I think it's right what you're saying, how they can communicate, because I remember one of the days we were just getting off the boat and Alejandro asked us to kind of get our bags, our big bags, and I remember one of the Kuna guys going, big bags. He just looked like so cute. He just learnt some new words. It was really sweet.
Yeah. And meeting the kids was lovely. I was surprised how enthusiastic they were to meet the tourists, meet us, and they come up and say hola, or sometimes hello. But you're right, if one of these kids, if they're growing up speaking their mother language, Kuna, and Spanish and English, that gives them so many opportunities and options for the future. So this is all part of benefiting the community there. What is the best way for someone to book a tour with you guys?
There's a couple of different ways. So you can book online. That's probably the easiest way, because you can make sure you have all of the information with us. You pay $120 online deposit, and then you're secure. Or otherwise, there's hostels, different spots around Central and South America, mainly Panama and in Cartagena, but you can drop off $50 and that's your deposit, as long as they communicate with us. Otherwise, we do have some WhatsApp numbers and email addresses that they can also book through us. But mainly, most people are from our websites.
Mm-hmm. And finally, anyone can volunteer, I guess. Well, I think I'm saying everyone. You tell me otherwise. But you can volunteer. I think, is that once you've done one of the trips, you can then do that, or can anyone just start by volunteering?
No, you don't have to have done the trip. Basically, how I started, I emailed the company and said, I don't speak Spanish, I've never done the trip before, and I don't know when I'm getting to Panama. Can I be part of your trip? And obviously after a couple of more conversations, that's how I got a position. But basically what we look for, outgoing people that are willing to learn, willing to help the communities, and also that have an open-ended ticket. We want people to be available, because we know that the Kunas are quite shy. So if we have long-term volunteers and assistants and guides, then the Kunas open up a lot more to people that they know. So there's that part to it, and we also want to make sure that they are well trained to be able to guide a trip from Panama to Colombia or Colombia to Panama.
What a great place to work.
Exactly. It's paradise. You get to have Panama, Colombia, and the islands. And you really get to know the Kunas, the crew, and everything like that, and the islands. So it's a good time.
Thanks again to Kaz for having that little chat with us there. Lots of good information about how you can book your trip and just the general loveliness of this trip.
Good word, loveliness. I agree. And speaking of loveliness, we loved the trip. It was fantastic. If you're going from Panama to Colombia or the other way around, why would you do it any other way?
Yeah, exactly. And if you do have a choice of which way to do it, my recommendation would be to do it the way that we did. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but I think if you get that passport border control part out the way first, then, you've got nothing to worry about until you get to Panama City, and then you have to find your accommodation. But yeah, I would recommend going from Colombia to Panama. But, if you can do it the other way as well, it's still going to be brilliant.
Yeah, both are going to be good. And again, I want to say that we were lucky. We were very, very lucky with the group of people we had. We think it was the best tour group we've ever been on.
Yeah, but I do also think that is part of San Blas Adventures' approach, and how they get the guides to play little games like, dancing for your food and playing the photo game.
Icebreakers.
Yeah, they do a lot of icebreakers, and that's why the group meshed so well.
Meshed, good word.
You liking my words today?
But yeah, I completely agree. But it was fantastic, and it's so nice to see that there are companies like San Blas Adventures that, they're there. Obviously, they're a business. They need to make money. They show you an amazing part of the world, but the benefit in the local people as well. So I think that's fantastic.
So yes, a massive thank you to San Blas Adventures. We have loved working with you. It's been an absolute pleasure, and you've made our job super easy of promoting you, because it was a fantastic trip. So that is our San Blas adventure all over.
our San Blas Adventure.
You know what I did there?
Well done.
So next, what's coming up next, Nick?
I'm not sure. We can have a little meeting quickly now. I think the next episode, we've spoken about Portugal, but I think the next episode should be Bolivia, because we got up to a lot of things there, met some crazy characters, one by the name of Dave, if you remember that.
Oh yeah, crazy Dave.
That means we're going from Central America to South America, and then after that, we'll be going to Europe, to Portugal, then back to South America. What do you think?
Okay, I'll go for that.
All right, so Bolivia's next, yeah?
Yeah, they're all good countries, so I'm happy to talk about any of them, really.
Great. Join us then, because that was a place I was particularly impressed with, Bolivia.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic. So, sure to be a great episode. What could go wrong? Don't forget, you can get in touch with the show. You can email us at whatthefopodcast@gmail.com. We are also on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and we are also on Patreon. For more information on all those things, you can go to our website at www.whatthefopodcast.com.